Hello and welcome. This is not your regular edition of Sri's Sunday New York Times read along, but I am Neil Parekh, the executive producer and occasional guest host. We are taking this week off. As you might be able to tell, I am on vacation this week, and we figured August was a nice time to take a 1 week hiatus for the show. But there are several things that I wanted to be able to share with you, and in one way, weeks off, away from the New York Times read along, away from our New York Times read along family, are challenging. We miss you. So with that, I wanted to first, I want to share just a quick glimpse of where I am. We're on vacation in Chincoteague, Virginia, home of the swimming ponies, if you're familiar with it. What I wanted to cover today is just take a quick look at the front page, because there's some interesting aspects of it that I thought would be worth mentioning. Share a special section on the return of New York City's nightlife over an 8-week period in from May to July. I think it was. The New York Times sent 40 photographers out to capture the essence of nightlife at a time when New York was in between COVID waves before the Delta variant, and it seemed like things might be getting back to normal. Obviously, that's not the case, and the New York Times notes that in its text. But it's still a really beautiful online section, and with some great video and some great photography. So we'll take a look at that. We'll have a preview of next week's show with Lee Klontz, and we'll also promote Women to Follow, Rose Horowitz's show, which will air on Tuesday evening. And of course, we'll thank our staff. So go ahead, sit back, watch a little bit. Feel free to leave a comment. We will respond later when we get a chance. And again, please make sure to join us next week, August 15th, when we return with a live show, and Lee Klontz will be our guest. Thank you. We're not doing a full New York Times read along this week, but we did think it'd be interesting to take a look at the front page of today's paper, Sunday, August 8th. What's interesting to me is that the display story, which is usually the dominant photo on the left-hand side, and the lead, which is usually the column far to the right, seems to be the same story this week. A year without kindergartners. How the pandemic stunted enrollment and hardened the learning gap, which with a very touching photo of a young girl on the front page. And you can see the data that they use, at least on the front page. Online, there's a really detailed map showing where students did not show up for kindergarten in the last year. The other stories on the front page: Cuomo used a movement for his gain, cheering Me Too at time of alleged acts. The Attorney General's report came out this week. It's clear that Governor Cuomo must resign. There is just there should be no tolerance for the behavior that he is alleged to have perpetrated, but based on the allegations, based on the report, I think there's enough to call for his resignation. Key senators ignored Trump on huge bill. This is the infrastructure bill in Congress. On the bottom, below the fold, back to normal is a tall order for many New York restaurants. You can see some of the measures some New York restaurants took to provide for outdoor dining. And then during eerie, empty games, finding hints of Olympic spirit. Of course, the games are over, and it certainly was an interesting 2 weeks. Several storylines. A shout out today, above all, to Simone Biles for the courage it took for her to step away from the stage when it didn't feel right to her. I want to tip my cap to her. Thank you for showing incredible leadership. At the bottom, you can see that they're teasing stories about migrants scaling Mount Cristo Rey, a barrier between the U.S. and Mexico. This great piece, which we're going to take a look at, when the Knights felt alive in the metropolitan section. There was a time this summer when the case count was at its lowest, and and New York Times sent photographers to capture it. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. A piece on cryptocurrency, and a piece about Allison Felix winning her 11th medal. So there is the front page for you in case you don't get the paper and you still want a sense of what the New York Times is prioritizing Sunday, August 8th. Here's a great piece, Nights When New York Felt Alive Again. You see the video in the background. You see the photography. It's really, really a great piece. We're going to scroll through and just enjoy what they did. This is a good example of what the New York Times can do online. Of course, we don't have the print edition with us today, but still thought it'd be worth sharing this piece for the photography and for the views it offers. As the Times noted in its intro piece, this was a period of about 10 weeks between May and July, in between waves of the coronavirus before the Delta variant, where things looked like it might be okay. The Times noted that okay to go out and socialize. The Times noted that New York City effectively dodged a bullet in terms of avoiding a major, impact in terms of coronavirus, and this might be a glimpse of what's to come. It's interesting in terms of the amount of money that nightlife provides to New York City in terms of the economy, and there's in fact an office of nightlife in the mayor's office, which I thought was interesting. But you can see some really great photography. I'm looking at this and thinking, oh my God, it's not what I'm ready for yet in terms of close quarters with people, even outside, unmasked. This is a little bit more to my comfort level in terms of the summer evenings outdoors at Lincoln Center, properly spaced at least. You can see a Little League game in the shadow of Yankee Stadium. Go Yankees, of course, and several other, and then some great video again that they show in the background of this piece, along with the text by Julia Carnell. And apparently we have some guests joining us for today's show. These are the seagulls behind me, or in front of me rather. But here is just some great shots for you to take a look at as we're scrolling through. And then this is a piece about dozens of hardcore punk fans crammed into Trans Pecos, a music venue on the Bushwick-Ridgewood border. Let's see here. What else do they have? Water fountains are always a big hit. Exuberance. some might call it irrational exuberance, possibly. But you can see, I mean, again, thankfully, there was no major, these didn't turn into super spreader events, which is good to know. But just some great, and 40 photographers that they sent out on this assignment, which was really incredible. Just some great shots, and night photography is certainly not easy. So kudos to the Times photographers and the editors who put this together. Really, really well done. It had to be a pizza place in the mix, right? Couldn't do this without pizza. As we scroll through and just take a look at the rest of these shots of nightlife, of parties, raves, street scenes. And again, I like the use of this video in the back. When the clock strikes 4 a.m., there isn't a dance floor in the city that hasn't been covered with confetti and spilled drinks. It's past last call, and many start to stumble home, collapsing onto muggy subway platforms or pouring themselves into cabs and Ubers. And this is what it looks like as the night ends and the day is about to begin. And that's really, you see sun up, I guess. And then this is the ending. And I debated showing this. I'm really not a fan of smoking. But again, this is the way they chose to end the piece, with that woman walking away. And again, all the photography took place between May and July, May 27th and July 17th. Kudos to the New York Times. Well done. Here is Shri with a preview of next week's guest, Lee Klontz.
Let's tell you about our next show that's coming up. Is on August 15th. We have Lee Klontz, who is the Director of Teaching and Learning at Emory University and one of my favorite students of all time. He is going to be joining us. He knows more about digital than almost anyone I know. So to have him talk about the newspaper and news and journalism is going to be wonderful. And he's going to be joining us from Atlanta. So please join us on August 15th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern on all of the channels that you're on now.
We want to end with some quick announcements. On Tuesday, August 10th, join us for episode 2 of Rose Horowitz's Woman to Follow. You can follow all the action using the hashtag Women to Follow, no spaces. Her guest this week on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time is Shireen Mitchell. You can follow her at Digital Sista, Digital Sista. She's a digital entrepreneur, diversity advocate, and founder of Stop OVAW. Shireen was also a guest at Social Media Weekend earlier this year. So do check out Women to Follow. It's the second episode, amplifying women's voices on social media. And we certainly want to give a shout out to the New York Times Read Along production team, Paula Kiger, Steve Taylor, Julia Weeks, and Carla Baranauckas. Thank you for all of your work in helping build such a strong community. And, this is a well-deserved week off. See you all next week. We really appreciate all the help and support you've given over the years. And as a final note, Again, the New York Times Read Along is produced by Digimentors, the hybrid and virtual events, social digital consulting firm that Sri started several years ago that really took off last year. We do conferences, summits, webinars, talk shows, trainings, and workshops. If you're interested in having us produce a show for you, please feel free to get in touch. You can reach Sri at his email address, Sri at digimentors.group, or you can reach me, Neil Parekh, Neil at digimentors.group. Again, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to having you join us next week. Of course, our guest will be Lee Klontz, Director of Teaching and Learning at Emory University. Join us August 15th for our next show. Thank you.